Yo, my people, what you saying? Today, I'm gonna be breaking down how to make beautiful samples for someone like Lil Tjay or someone like that. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna play you out the loop, and then I'm gonna break it down for you. Okay, so as you can see, we're working in the scale of G sharp minor, but what I've done is I've used B as the root note, so it goes from a B major down to a G sharp minor as the first two chords. Starting on a different note basically gives you more of a variety of chord progressions that you can use, and also it builds tension within the actual chord progression itself. So that's the reason I've done that. But as you can see, it's a very simple chord progression. It's literally a few chords. So it goes B major, seventh, to G sharp minor seventh, back up to a B, then it goes down to an F, and then it obviously it goes back to B, G, and then the final four bars of the progression goes down to an E, then up to an F sharp, then up to a G sharp. And the reason I've done that is basically it builds tension, like signaling it's the end of the chord progression. This is what the chord progression sounds like just by itself. So as you can see, it's very, very, very emotional. Perfect for someone like Lil Tjay. Another thing you might have noticed is that it's not just triad chords that we're using. We're using seventh chords, so major and minor seventh chords. What a seventh chord is basically a more emotional sounding chord. It gives it like that nice R&B sounding vibe to the chord. So the way you do a seventh chord is you just make your standard triad chord and then skip a note in the scale and then add one at the top. So this is what it sounds like without, and this is what it sounds like with. So as you can see, it's got a much more emotional R&B sounding feel to it. And then finally, what I've done as well is I just added these filler notes, top line notes, or you can call them, to the chord progression. Basically, just to give it a bit of rhythm, give it a bit of melody, so the artist can sort of, when you add top line notes, the artist can sort of take inspiration from the melody already created by the piano to use in their own vocals. So yeah, man. For the mixing for the piano, all I've done is added a little compressor, added a decimal, and what a decimal does, it's a desampler, so it almost destroys the audio, the sound of the whatever instrument it's on, and it gives it that nice underwater R&B sort of sound. I'll play it without and then with. So this is with it, and this is without. So as you can see, it's got like a nice little subtle difference. After that, I added an RC20 just to give it that nice retro feel. And then a reverb, fruity reverb. I need to move away from fruity reverb. And then also added a little EQ just to take out some of the low end. After that, all I did was layer the chords with this pad sound from Analog Lab. Basically just to fill the sample out a little bit, give it a nice airy sort of sound to it, adds to the emotion as well. After that, I added a vocal from Arcade. With these type of samples, 95% of the time, you're gonna want to have like a nice vocal in there because it adds to the emotion, and it's something that is also catchy in the sample as well. So this is what that sounds like.
You ain't never had a love like this. Never had a love like this.
So as you can tell, it's very emotional, very catchy. It's perfect for this type of sample. For the effects, I just added another decimal, quite a heavy decimal on this one. I've taken out, I've resampled it quite a lot, and then I've added a reverb, quite a lot of reverb, quite a lot of decay. Yeah, man. I also added this little like pluck sounding, key sounding thing from Sky Keys. It basically just serves as like a bit of ear candy. You can barely even hear it in the actual mix, but it's just there in the background, just to sort of get your ears like it going a little bit, if that if that makes sense. But yeah, man. Obviously, I added a sub bass as well from Analog Lab. very simple. It's literally just taking all the bass notes from each of the chords. Nothing special, nothing fancy going on here. With these type of samples as well, mainly use a sub bass, but also the bass isn't that important simply because with trap beats, people are going to be taking the sub bass out anyway, and they're going to be adding their own 808s and stuff like that. All right, and then finally I added this guitar. I'll play the audio for you, and then I'll break down the MIDI because I made it in MIDI. So yeah, as you can tell, it's very emotional. It leaves a lot of space for the artist as well. With this type of sample, you don't want to have too much going on because it's going to take away from the artist's vocals and what they're able to do on the beat as well. It's basically just there to add to the emotion, add a bit of variation to the sample as well for like a verse or a breakdown or something like that. But as you can see, this is the progression that I used. There's not too much going on. Yeah, like I said, it leaves a lot of space for the artist. It's just there as like an accent filler. And the reason I bounced it to audio was so I could chop it up a little bit, and just to make it a bit more interesting, I wanted to reverse this part here. So at the end, it reverses into the next section of the sample. And then I've done the same thing. I've just taken the reverse section and I've added it to the end of this part here. Just to give the sample a bit of variation, make it a bit more interesting. For the mixing on the guitar, I used a fruity reverb, a lot of reverb, as you can see. I need to stop using fruity reverb though, man. It's terrible. Just EQ, just to take out some of the low end and take out some of the high end, just to make it sit nicely in the mix. And then I also added a guitar rig, and what a guitar rig does basically is, when you're playing a real guitar, you're going to be using like actual amps to get to affect the guitar, make it sound good. What a guitar rig does is basically a VST version of that. So it's got all these different presets, and it adds different like styles of amps to the guitar, for the style you're looking for. The only thing with guitar rig I would say is make sure to turn it down when you use it, because it makes the guitar sound way too loud. And then finally after that, I just added this tom sound. Basically, I'll just put that in the hook just to when you want a sample to sound like a real sample, you're gonna want to have a little bit of some sort of drum sound in there, just so it sounds a bit more realistic, makes it a bit more interesting as well. And then also finally I added this crash sound. Just added that crash sound just to again, just to spice it up a little bit. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to start making content consistently from now on. If you made it to the end, I've linked the loop in the description for free. So if you want to download it and use it in your own beat, you could do that. Let me know what other type of content that you want to see from me. I'm going to make more tutorials, going to be dropping more loop kits. I might do some real life content like day in the lives and stuff like that. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.